everything I've taught is accurate about how to connect. There was one little shift I needed to make in how to see ourselves, which I'm now sharing publicly. But what's been missing is groundedness, grounding ourselves in this center that we call the Hara, the belly. In Eastern philosophy, there are three major centers: the head, the heart, and the Hara. In Western culture, we talk about the 7 chakras and we focus on those. Well, they're both important. It's not either or. And you saw me in Wolf's message say, Wolf's message was we need to get out of the head and into the heart. Absolutely correct. And we also need to ground our awareness in the belly, and that becomes our stable base. Then we bring in the rest of the body, the lower half of us, grounded into the earth. A lot of people who do the spiritual path understand it's important to ground, but when we don't realize that the Hara is the seat of our soul, the balance point in the body, the seat of our strength and our stability, our vitality.
Suzanne Giesemann, welcome back. Welcome back to Fear Unzipped. It's interesting. You are the first guest I'm having back. And I interviewed you. I call it more of a conversation. It's not really an interview. A year ago, because it was in October, but your episode appeared in December, came up in December. Suzanne, so much has happened in a year. And I feel energetically, personally, professionally, I mean, so much has happened. So I have so many questions for you. So we're going to dive into those questions, but I want people who might not know about you. They're going to get to know about you, and you're a very important person. I feel that they should know. I'm going to give them a little bit about your background. Okay.
Okay.
You're a spiritual teacher, best-selling author, folks, of 16 books. This is the last one that I've read. I've read them all. It's called Mediumship. Highly recommend if you are interested in connecting beyond the veil, which I think most of us are. You're an award-winning documentarian, especially of the magnificent documentary Wolf's Message, which literally has changed my life. And I want to tell people, and Suzanne, I said this on so many interviews. I have brought up Wolf's Message to say, please, 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 people, watch this documentary, because even if you don't know Wolf, and you most likely don't know Wolf, you're going to meet Wolf, because he's going to pop into your life in some magical way. Beautiful. You are recognized on Watkins' list of 100 most spiritually influential living people. This is what I didn't know, Suzanne. Others on the list include Pope Francis and the Dalai Lama. So you're an extraordinary company. In 2024, you were awarded the prestigious Humanities Team Spiritual Leadership Award, which has only been given 11 times since 2006. Okay, again, 2 of the recipients are Archbishop Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela. Folks, I really want you to get to know Suzanne and her work. It's some of the most important work during our time, especially right now. So Suzanne, I'm going to toss it to you. For those that might not know anything about you, would you just give us, if you can, a brief backstory of before and how you got to where you are today?
I will. I know that this is some greater plan to have me doing this work now, because my current work is so different from what I did for the first part of my life. I spent 20 years as a naval officer. I was a commanding officer of a shore unit. I joined before women were allowed on most ships. And then was a special assistant to the Chief of Naval Operations, the head of the Navy, and then was personally asked to be the aide to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So I've ridden in that limo as he talked to world leaders. I've flown on Air Force One with the president, been on top secret hearings on Capitol Hill. I know what it's like at the very top of the United States military and the government, and never gave much thought to a greater reality, an afterlife, our spiritual side. But Sandy, I've been doing a very serious inventory of my life before I became spiritual. And I realize now that all of our suffering all of our pain arises from not realizing who we really are as souls. And so I'm just so grateful that my background now allows people to look at me and say, well, she's not flighty. She's pretty grounded, to now be talking to spirits, to be talking about the types of things that we do. And really it's my total joy now to guide people to find that place within themselves where we're all connected.
So beautiful. Now, there was something that did trigger you to get into spirituality. Can you share that with us?
Two things, actually. One was being in the last aircraft in U.S. airspace on 9/11, flying directly over the burning World Trade Center towers hours after they were hit, because we were out over the Atlantic. My boss was going to be knighted by Queen Elizabeth, all excited about that, and I didn't get to do it because we had to turn around and flew over Manhattan and then back to our burning office building, the Pentagon. So I really started asking deeper questions then. That could have been me. Why was it them? You know, that sort of thing. But I didn't have anything to fall back on. I had no spirituality, was raised with no religion, and so just suffered some more and let it go. And literally ran away from life by retiring the day I had 20 years because of 9/11. And well, also because as a woman at that time, there weren't many opportunities for me to stay in much after 20 years that appealed to me. And so retired and sailed off into the sunset, literally, with my husband. And then the major catalyst to my spiritual awakening was the death of my stepdaughter, Suzanne. She was a sergeant in the Marine Corps, was crossing the flight line at work, and was struck and killed by a bolt of lightning. No rain, just time for Suzanne to go to lead me to this place where I look back and have taken the most devastating event of my life and translated into helping literally millions of people. Is clearly a plan, because I know now that Suzanne didn't suffer and is certainly not suffering, and is helping me in this journey. And it's my greatest joy to say to people, I can guarantee you beyond any shade of a doubt, and you know from watching Wolf's Message, that we are souls, that death is not the end, that you are not alone, and your soul is already whole and complete.
And I think I'll add to that Suzanne was also pregnant at the time, which is another huge element to that story.
Yes,
and she is very much involved in what you're doing now. And you do reach millions of people. You know, I went to an event here for Wolf's Message. There were hundreds of people there. And it just, your work is touching so many. But I think a lot of it has to do with your groundedness, that there's nothing flighty about you. There isn't, you are so adamant about evidential proof that you're not going to say, your grandma loves you.
That's right. That's right. And Wolf's Message, Wolf was a young man who was also struck and killed by lightning. And that documentary shares the irrefutable proof that he knew at a soul level what was going to happen to him, and that we all know at some level who we really are. It's just a matter of letting that shine, letting it out, clearing away the clouds.
Suzanne, I haven't shared this with you, but I interviewed Carla Kaufman Sloan, whose son, you might know, because she took a course from you. Her son was 7 years old, swimming in the swimming pool, touched one of the lights and was electrocuted and was thrown out of the pool. When I interviewed her, I said, and she took some of your online courses that you teach through the Shift Network, and she is now a medium herself, and a brilliant, beautiful medium, and you are a huge inspiration in her life. But I said, Carla, look at this. Suzanne was struck by lightning. Wolf was struck by lightning. Your son was basically struck by lightning, with the electricity. And she says, yes, there is a connection here.
Yeah,
and the light, but we are all so connected. And this is the message I want to get across, because right now in the world, people are suffering. People are worried about their own lives. They're worried about their families. They're worried about the world. They're worried about humanity. They're worried about the animals. We're worried about everything right now. And we need something that can ground us and bring us back to the joy and beauty of what is around us, because I feel it every day, because I tap into nature. And that is my everything. This is the feather that I found this morning before
nice.
this. And I'm telling you, every time I do one of these, I find a feather right before, and I walk barefoot. But since we chatted, we talked last time, can you tell me, has something shifted in the way that you're getting information? Do you think there's something different energetically out there? Can you share that?
Something huge has shifted, and I don't know if you took my most recent class that I did online. Did you take that class?
I didn't, because I was traveling.
Well, it's okay, because we're going to have it online very soon on demand, and I'm going to translate it into a 7-week course I'm doing with the Ship Network starting December, because it is a game changer. I've been connecting with Spirit very clearly since 2009, and there's been a little missing piece. Everything I've taught is accurate about how to connect. There was one little shift I needed to make in how to see ourselves, which I'm now sharing publicly. But what's been missing is groundedness, grounding ourselves in this center that we call the Hara, the belly. In Eastern philosophy, there are 3 major centers: the head, the heart, and the Hara. In Western culture, we talk about the 7 chakras, and we focus on those. Well, they're both important. It's not either or. And you saw me in Wolf's message say, Wolf's message was we need to get out of the head and into the heart. Absolutely correct. And we also need to ground our awareness in the belly, and that becomes our stable base. Then we bring in the rest of the body, the lower half of us, grounded into the earth. A lot of people who do the spiritual path understand it's important to ground, but when we don't realize that the Hara is the seat of our soul, the balance point in the body, the seat of our strength and our stability, our vitality, then it's like, I used the analogy in the workshop, it's like I used to play in a flute choir, and we have the regular flutes and the piccolo. Well, I played the bass flute. And it's like the bass flute is off to the side, the bass being the Hara, equivalent to the Hara. And the music is beautiful, but you lose that beautiful depth. You're missing a whole part of the equation. The Hara is there, it's operating, but you're not capitalizing on this beautiful center of stability and strength that really helps you determine the difference between imagination and a clear connection. When you ground in the Hara, it really holds that connection, makes it solid. That's why I say it's a great game changer. And people who are using this new Hara method that I'm teaching are thrilled, because it really is the forgotten center. And all of this, I know I'm rambling on and on here, Sandy, but all of this, the teaching and the awareness came about since I met you out in Oregon just a few months ago. Right after we met, I believe it was even the next week, I had a major challenge with my back and sciatica. And I've been talking to Spirit, asking what's the teaching, why this area, what do I need to know, what am I not seeing? And it has led to this huge awareness and focus and a change in how I work.
Okay, so you know what's coming into me? So many people have gut issues.
Absolutely.
So many, Suzanne.
Yes.
My family, we're right in there. Both my children. And I hear this constantly, that they have upset stomachs, they have IBS, they have Crohn's, my son had Crohn's but doesn't now. So I feel this is critical in our health as well. Can you say something about that?
It's so funny, because I had to call in an energy worker to help me when my back was pretty, really achy. And she says that almost all of her clients have issues in that area. It really is a neglected part of our body. We go out and up to Spirit to connect. We go to the heart and the head, but we don't realize this is a vital area, and our bodies are trying to say, pay attention here. It's out of balance.
Oh my gosh. Well, they do say that we have a brain. The heart is also a brain, and the gut is a brain. And the 3 are constantly talking to each other. And if one's out of balance, you're going to feel out of alignment.
But here's the main issue that I've really unearthed in myself is it's also related to those lower 2 chakras. Of course, the first one is all about security and safety. Mm-hmm. The second one, relationships. And so at a very early age, most of us have something happen that doesn't allow us to feel safe. We don't want to feel that whole area. We cut off from it. We're all carrying around trauma. I made a whole list of all these issues in my life that I didn't want to deal with, where I didn't feel safe. And it's phenomenal when you're finally willing to look at these issues and pray, ask, show me what I'm not seeing. So show me that I don't need to be afraid anymore. Because once you realize that spirit, source, God, consciousness, I call it joy. Joy is centered right here within us, not out here, and wants us to feel safe. We are innately safe in our bodies, but our subconscious has been telling us our whole lives we're not. And so this fear unzipped, we run away from the fear. I realized that when this pain hit, I clenched up. I was afraid to get out of bed because it hurt so much. I was afraid to bend over and put my socks on because it hurt so much. And that made it worse. Once I started feeling the pain and realizing I could relax into it, the physical pain started lessening. And now I was able to say, is there a deeper level pain I haven't been feeling? And I know that I hold my breath, used to, all the time. When working, that's the inner tension. And so I've been doing breath work, hypnosis, self-hypnosis with beautiful recordings, and working with energy healers. And now I realize I'm so much more relaxed. I'm simplifying my life. I'm clearing out and letting go of all this stuff that I know led to this as a lesson, not as punishment, but hey, I'm 64 now. It's time to let go of all that and fully embody your soul, fully live, be free. It's phenomenal.
So you do more than most people that I know. You're constantly doing a course, or you're online, you're traveling the world, you're promoting Wolf's message. There has to be a point where all of it just seems like, oh my goodness, it's overwhelming. I have to tell you, this morning, I had a moment of, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And it was a moment of insecurity, a moment of unsafety. I understand unsafety very well, which I put on myself because it wasn't like other people were doing it to me. I just felt unsafe. And I did the breathing. I went outside. I do go into those moments. So people say to me, oh, you seem to so have it together. Well, I'm with all of you. I'm a work in progress like the rest of everybody.
All of us, yes.
So do you think Sanaya, who is your guides, the name of your guides, do you feel they might have put you in a situation like that, so your teaching elevated to the next level?
I have no doubt about that. First of all, the idea to take Wolf's message on the road in our tour bus just came so suddenly, and within a week, the whole tour was laid out. And when I saw you, we had traveled 8,000 miles. And the first thing all the medical people said to me, have you been doing a lot of sitting lately? And I said, have I? 8,000 miles in our bus. But I realized later, as an aside, it's not just the sitting, it's how you're sitting, slouching, and all that bumping on the road. But the idea was an inspiration from Spirit to do the tour. So I know that it was pushing me to all of this, especially because in June, I had a session with the medium. We love to work for each other and do readings for each other. You always get pieces of the puzzle that we don't get ourselves. And she said, Suzanne, over the next 6 months, you are going to be shedding layers of deeper stuff, but not without some pain. Thank you, Spirit. I am actually very, very grateful. I've come to a whole new understanding of what chronic pain is, what other people go through, how we can help ourselves, and how we further this process that we're all going through by not resisting it, not running away from it, flowing with it, and minding it for all it's worth.
It reminds me of Dana Crochet and her back issue in her beautiful film Love Heals. Yes. The same thing that once I find when I have an injury of some kind, because I work out a lot, I had a shoulder injury. I kept thinking about that shoulder injury, and every time I thought about it, I would be worse. And finally, I did what you said. Isn't that interesting?
That's it.
That's a Suzanne statement, people.
It is. It is.
When something happens that you go, that you're not happy about, you go, isn't that interesting? It releases something. And then I just took the energy away from it. And I thought, I don't want to live with this. And I'm telling you, it has shifted. It shifted brilliantly.
Yay.
So let's talk a bit about, there are people that are really going through some tough times. And I know if I say to them, well, feel from your heart, breathe from your heart, go into nature, hug a tree, and they'll go, really? My life is a mess. I can't pay my rent. I have bad health. What is a tangible thing, Suzanne, you can offer them? Because I can see why they would look at this and call it BS, but not your BS. Yeah.
Well, no, I call it BS too. And that stands for belief system. The belief that your only identity is all of those issues, what I call your story. And you absolutely have to get to the place where we have the personal experience of being more than the story. And that comes from being willing to sit in stillness, to set aside time and sit quietly, if only a few minutes a day, and observe the story. You step back from it and say, what if I am a soul? What if I'm more than story? And now we can pray, because this is for the greater good. Whoever is higher than me, somebody show me a way to experience myself beyond the story. And in that stillness, while you just watch your thoughts, I talk about this in my book, The Awakened Way, questioning reality and doing practices where you sit in silence and observe, you start to say, wait a minute, if I'm able to step back from the story, who is it that's observing this? And I lead some wonderful meditations where we can realize we are not just this little me, this story. Once you start experiencing the peace that comes from accessing this part of us that's right here that never changes, that's the part beyond the story. You realize that part of you was here at age 2 when you didn't really know your story. That part of you, this part of you was here at age 12. This part of you was here at age 32. And it hasn't changed. And it isn't suffering. And it is so peaceful. It's right here. And it's the part of you that looks in the mirror and says, who's that older person looking back at me? But it's the part of you that knows joy, that wants to be playful. I have a fabulous meditation. I can brag about it because it was totally channeled and spontaneous. I can't take credit for it at all, other than that I said yes when Spirit said, go into the recording studio with this wonderful Richard Schulman who channels music. And together we created, with Spirit's help, this piece called The Journey of Remembrance. You can find it on YouTube. Have you listened to it?
Do you know, I don't think I've listened to that one, but I'm going to listen to it after this conversation, Suzanne.
Set aside 30 minutes, 32 minutes. Don't fall asleep, because it's so beautiful. We've had spontaneous physical healings as people listen to it. But it's not really a meditation. It's 30 minutes of listening and being willing to remember, right? It's a journey of remembrance, who we really are. When I get off balance, I do my 10-minute transformation recording. That's also on YouTube for balancing the energy center. But when I'm totally at a loss, something happens that has me completely off balance, I listen to the Journey of Remembrance. Oh my gosh. Talk about a recalibration, realignment. It's phenomenal. So the daily practice to observe your true self, that would be my sip of the divine. That's also on YouTube. I'm all about giving these tools, getting them out there so people have the personal experience of being more than the story.
Oh, so beautiful. We'll put all of that in the show notes. I want people to be able to access that. Suzanne, I have to tell you something that happened to me the other day that made me realize that I am whole within myself, but I am so much part of this universe that we live in, this beautiful universe. So I'm walking in my backyard. I'm going to do a post about it. I'm walking in my backyard, and I have these gorgeous aspen trees, which are my favorite. They twinkle. And I'm picking up some leaves from the ground. And all of a sudden, now I've done this for years, but all of a sudden I looked in each leaf, and in each leaf was the image of a tree, of a whole tree. I took pictures of them all.
Hey,
and I'm outside talking to my guides and going, I get it. I'm complete within myself, but I'm also part of the whole. The tree, these leaves are perfect by themselves, but they're part of the soul of the tree. I'm part of the soul of the tree. It was pure magic. And that's what I would love for people to kind of start noticing.
yes.
Can
May I
you
say
talk about noticing?
Yeah, no, let me just say that every cell of our bodies is whole and complete and has this innate wisdom in it. That's why our bodies heal themselves. When you cut by themselves, you don't have to tell it to heal. It knows balance. It seeks balance. So we're the ones that block that with our BS, with our thoughts. But we as a whole being have this innate balance in us. It's called spirit, God, joy, consciousness, whatever. That you just recognize the hermetic principle of as above, so below. Source joy is in everything, just like that. Beautiful. What was the question, Cindy?
No, I don't think I had a question. I think I was sharing with you that story.
Yeah, you did ask a question.
Oh, okay. So I don't remember what the question was, Suzanne, but that's the way we roll here.
Free flow. Yep.
So what does your body feel like when it's in alignment?
Oh, you can even be in pain. I can recognize that, but there's a freedom. There's a looseness that just says, and like you said, you say, isn't that interesting? And it's open, receptive, not clenching. You're breathing, you're being breathed by spirit. This is what I've really loved about this back pain. And it happened to me once when I cut my finger, and for a week it kept opening up, and I had to become hyper vigilant about not bumping that finger. I've become very vigilant now, not hyper anymore, but about, is this next step going to cause me pain? I'm going to be careful. I'm going to tune in and listen. What am I listening to? I'm listening to the innate wisdom of the body, but also it's this source that's within and outside the body that will guide our every step in everything we do. So this has been the most beautiful way to practice presence and mindfulness. If we all could walk about every moment, just being careful not to bump something. It's like when I was in the Navy, we had so many uniforms, Sandy, and one of them was our summer white uniform, not total dressy, but on the days when we didn't wear normal khakis. Can you imagine what it's like to wear all day white skirt, white blouse, white shoes, and not bump anything, right? Not sit on the wrong thing. You had to be so aware when you wore your whites. So I laugh at that. So I was trained in awareness back then, but didn't use it as a spiritual practice. Your question was about snags, actually. That's what you asked me about. Remember?
No.
You forgot already. Yeah. When you said you were snagged, what made you notice the leaves?
Yes.
And
yes.
This is what I call snags.
Yes.
It's when higher consciousness gets our attention and just draws you to notice that leaf. Something caused you to stop and look closer. That's what I call a snag. And so when you're more present, you notice, oh, why did that just catch my attention? I'm going to look even closer. And so it's a very wonderful tool that I know I talk about snags in the Awakened Way. I also talk about, I have a later book than the mediumship one you showed called Making the Afterlife Connection. Snags is how spirit say, stop, pull the thread on this now. We have a message for you.
I get snagged all the time. And it happened on the first interview with you or conversation. You got snagged. Sanaya came in and you went, oh, just a second. And it was really interesting about fear and unzipping fear. So when we go back to Hara, and it sounds like that is the missing puzzle piece. So many of us want to connect to the other side, connect to our loved ones, connect to our sweet pets that passed on. I have dear friends that are going through that right now, that they have a very sick, dear family member that's a dog that's getting ready to pass. What can you share with the audience that, yes, you can connect. And how can Hara come in and maybe help us even more?
Well, the Hara method is all about before we connect, we make sure that our whole system, energetic system, is aligned and ready and clear, ready to work. Just like an orchestra, you'd want to tune all the instruments. And so if one of them, the Hara, is not tuned, your connection is not going to be as clear as it could be. I've seen this all along in my years of connecting with other people's loved ones across the veil. Sometimes that connection is rock solid. Other times it wavers. We snatch bits of data that they're sending to us. And other times there's beautiful flow. I didn't realize in the past the difference is I must have been completely aligned by grace. Now I do it with intention, and the connection is solid. Not always perfect. We're works in process, but so much better and more reliable. So with the Hara method, it's an acronym. And I love acronyms. Military people love acronyms. They help us remember things. Like SIP of the divine is sit in peace, for example. But Hara is an actual word. It's a Japanese word that means belly, but we use it to refer to that center of awareness. For those of you who have practiced martial arts, you would understand these three centers as the dantians, upper, middle, and lower dantians, same thing. So in the Hara method, H means hold your awareness on the Hara. So you just move your awareness and become aware. There is an energy center here. If I put my focus here and acknowledge it, I'm kind of activating that power. I'm going to use this without effort in my connection. Then A is anchor that awareness in your body, and especially the lower half of your body. So you now realize that your whole field is important, not just these upper centers because you're connecting to the cosmos and the higher consciousness. It's all part of one whole. So now we're going to be a whole system. So anchor it with awareness. Then the R is raise that awareness to the other two dantians, the centers. And this is all just something we do with our mind, but consciousness causes effect. Okay. All right. Cause and effect by using your consciousness. So now we've raised it, and the final A, align the three centers. So equally important. I use little phrases like now I'm saying joyous. That's my word for God. Here, I put my hands on the belly and say, here is where joy lives in me. Then my hands on my heart. Here's where joy loves through me. And hand here, the third eye, right? Here is where joy sees through me. When you really align the three of them, now you know what you're getting. It's not just doubting. You get a really clear connection, and you know truth when you feel it. So you can also then align these three centers with the 7 chakras. Bring them together, because those 7 chakras are how we move energy through our whole system and process it. And each one has a separate role. Like we talked about safety and security of the upper ones, super important in doing readings for people and connecting with higher consciousness, because that's where we're going to access spiritual insight and wisdom and guidance. But the heart is going to be the bridge for the connection. The Hara is the center point of awareness within the body. So once we've done the Hara method, we don't have to focus on these anymore. Just feel from the heart and you'll know.
So have you worked with some people with this Hara method, and the results have been kind of magical? Do you have any examples?
Well, just that it's the knowing, it's the layers. Layers, what do I mean by that? One young man across the veil showed me that he had a cat when he was still here, and his mother has it. And, at first I would have just, in the past, if I weren't really anchored, okay, I'm supposed to talk about a cat he had. But instead, you just feel into it now with this really solid base, this solid knowing. Show me some more, get layers. So I said, well, he's showing me this cat is still alive, and he used to hold it. he would walk around the house. He's showing me holding it under its armpits, letting it hang down. And then he shows me that he would drape the cat around his neck and walk around the house. And the mother saying, yes, yes, yes. So we're just getting these knowings. Just the other day, I did a reading where I hope I can share this because it's anonymous. And the young man across spirit, I said, I'm out with you, Dad, and we're cutting down a Christmas tree. This is a very pleasant time, and we're dragging that Christmas tree off the property. And the dad said, I own a Christmas tree farm. This is the evidence, right?
Yes.
This is phenomenal. I've gotten outstanding evidence from the start, or I wouldn't be doing this work. I told Spirit, I won't do this unless we get really good stuff. We have to be able to change hearts and minds with the proof. But now it's that knowing. I'm saying more and more in my reading, and I know he had a cat. And it's not. I train my students. Don't say, "Did your son have a cat?" I don't like that. We need to trust what we're getting. But there's a difference between trusting and knowing. This is what Spirit is telling us.
It's so interesting you say that, because I was getting something the other day about a friend's father, and it was really clear. And he's just such a cool guy. He's transitioned. He's such a cool guy. I never knew him. Mm-hmm. And I messaged her. I said, I know this because I have, and this has happened since I've done the podcast, that I've become much more, I just know. But you know why, Suzanne? It's because I'm around people like you and some other guests. And when we're in this space, it's this magical space that we've created, which goes out into anybody who listens to this space. That's right. It's true with anything that you do. It's that bubble. I call it
alignment. It's alignment.
It's alignment. Yeah. So, but that doesn't mean I don't still go through, what am I doing? Because we're human, and that's part of it.
That's right.
That's something. Right. I don't think anybody has ever said this to you on a podcast. I'm going to be the first one. Well, maybe they have. You have the most magical hands. I said this to you when we were at the winery together. So her hands, when people that will be watching this, there's energy. I know this to be true, Suzanne. I know this to be true. There's energy. And while you're talking, you're moving energy around, and it's beautiful. It's high frequency energy. Your hands are part of all of this. So when you're reading, you're moving your hands, and I physically feel it. And I even told the people that work with you, I said, she has the most beautiful hands. Do you notice that?
Well, I remember I lead cruises too. I have one coming up next year that people are very excited about, because we get to be in that energy for 14 hours on the ship and be with kindred spirits for the whole time, which is so awesome. And you just get away from it all and soak up this wonderful spirit energy. But I led the group through the journey of remembrance that I told you about. I did a video about this. And as we all listened to it together, after my guides channeled an explanation of it beforehand, I felt them step in, and my hand went up and was giving that energy to everybody present. I knew a healing was taking place. It pushed me back in my chair. And there's a video about healing. I'm not exact. Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. They just got me there a second. But I'm making a note so I don't forget. Okay. I knew healing had taken place, and several people, 4 or 5, came up to me and told me they felt it and they knew that they'd been healed. And the video that I just did tells 2 people's stories. They give testimonials. One man had a terminal lung issue, and it was healed, and he knew exactly when it happened during a guided meditation. And the other one, a major back issue for 16 years, gone during that journey of remembrance. What I wrote down was like, how can I get people to find that video? Well, we have a new, that's what the Spirit said. Tell them about the new thing. On my website, SuzanneGiesemann.com/video-search. Video search. We now have this awesome capability where you enter in a keyword and it will take you to every video I've done with that keyword, healing, and the exact minute where I talk about it. So you don't have to watch the whole video. Now that one should be up it'll be up by the end of October. I don't know when this will show, but yeah, it's a phenomenal tool. Really.
That's amazing. Okay, that takes us into AI because AI had something to do with all of that, didn't it?
Yes.
Okay, to coordinate.
And then the other use of AI that we've used, which is beautiful, is we've taken 15 years of my teaching and Sanaya's channeling, all the transcripts from my Shift Network course, all the transcripts from my videos, my classes, all the daily messages that are on the Awaken Way app, 6,000 of them, and put them into this repository, and then trained this compassionate AI librarian, I called her, to access only that information. So you're not getting other people's stuff. Mm-hmm. We call her Grace, our virtual librarian. And she speaks, we trained her to speak like I would, but beautifully compassionate. And we've tested it over and over. The answers are phenomenal. So you can go to SuzanneGiesemann.com/your questions answered.
That's
really, really, really a wonderful tool.
Suzanne, do you use AI in spiritually as a spiritual connector?
No, only for my personal questions that when my guides say, now go look for this, because I have a book coming out next year from Hay House called Always Connected. I know, Always Connected. How to find comfort, clarity, and direction from the spirit within. And the point I make in that book is we are so trained to say, hey, Siri, and get our answers. Instead of adding the P and T for peace and tranquility and say, hey, spirit. And so the danger now is to go to AI for answers. So Siri, I knew she was going to answer. It's the lazy way to go to AI to get answers that are going to be so superior from within. But when I started learning about the Hara, for example, Sanaya said, now look up this regarding the Hara.
Right.
And then what happens is, if you ask to be guided to the exact prompt and the exact way to word your question, you're going to get a much better, clear answer from you. So you use AI in conjunction with this inner knowing and inner tuning in.
Yeah, which is exactly the way that I use it. And also when I use it, if I'm using it that way to get deeper into perhaps a spiritual question, my body's in a different place. I am more in alignment. I am in a very loving, high frequency space.
Beautiful.
And I get beautiful, loving answers. And I have to tell you, Suzanne, there are some that I get back and I go, oh my gosh, they're truly amazing. And I think people do have a fear of AI, but I think it's the way that you use it and respect it, because
if you use discernment
always.
I've gotten some answers back, and then I'll say to the AI, not Grace. I haven't gotten anything I disagree with there, but other AI systems. And I'll say, wait a minute, what you say doesn't make sense, because I actually challenge it. And AI will come back and say, why, that is very astute. You are right. And let us put it this way. It's astounding.
I do the exact same thing. Good. I will challenge it because I am a believer in being a skeptic. I think you are too.
Oh, yes.
That there's so much information out there that if we took it all in, we'd all be crazy pants. You've got to be, even about the work you do, come in, people listening, come in being skeptical if that's how you feel. And if it resonates, I always say, if this podcast resonates, then take the pieces that resonate. If it doesn't, then you don't need, just say adios. But
may I tell you, I did a reading for a couple the other day, and they came on Zoom on the screen, and I started to tell them a little talk, and I said, look, it's okay to be skeptical. And the man kind of went like, oh, I nailed it, and this was before we got started. And I said, I'm skeptical when I talk to a medium, when I have a connection. I said, but the evidence is going to prove itself. But what is most important, though, is being open-minded. This open-minded skepticism. And I think it was Carl Sagan said, but not so open-minded that your brains fall out.
Oh, I love that quote. I always say, be curious. Always be curious. Don't go, kind of shy away from judgment. Be curious, be open-minded, and make your own decision. And you'll know, your inners will tell you if it resonates or it doesn't. You'll instinctively know, intuitively know. This course, I'm curious about this course you're going to be teaching at the Shift Network. Did you say it's 7 weeks long?
Yes, and I'm thrilled about that. The timing is divine. It starts in December. And why it's divine is because we've just finished doing this Forgotten Center workshop introducing the Hara as part of our ongoing practice. And I had agreed to the course before all of the Hara method unfolded. And it was going to be a basic class in decoding signs and messages from those across the veil. But now we've added in the Hara method. And why it's divine is because I learned about the Hara a year ago. My guides brought it to me in a miraculous way that I couldn't ignore it. And I shared this in the workshop, the Forgotten Center. And I used it in a reading, and suddenly I'm getting accurate names left and right, which is, many people think that's just the most amazing part of a reading. It's not. It's the whole big picture. But to get, your friend Chip and your brother Jerry, and that was phenomenal. And I know it came from using the Hara. But then after 2 readings, maybe 3, I forgot about it because I hadn't developed a practice. I hadn't made it part of my way of doing sessions and connecting with spirit. So I just dropped it and went back to my way of doing readings, which was sometimes a great signal, sometimes a little wavering. I didn't have that solid base and the really clear, always having the knowing. And so now I didn't teach the course until I made it part of my practice. I didn't teach the course till I had a good month at least of readings under my belt using it. So I've taught the Forgotten Center workshop, and I don't want people to just forget it. So a 7-week course with the Hara method worked into guided meditations and practices and homework every week. And there's a 2-week break over Christmas, so people will have homework assignments. So really you have 9 weeks of being with me live every week. If you can't be live, you at least catch it that week at some point when you can, but with other like-minded souls to really make it part of your life. You're not going to forget that after 7 and 9 weeks. So I'm excited.
I love it. So it's about connecting beyond. Do you remember the name of it? I do. If you
had it right there.
Yeah, I have it.
Decoding messages.
It's called Decode Messages and Miracles Across the Veil, the Hara Method for Healing, Hope, and Guidance. This one absolutely intrigues me. I really, really would like to be on board on this one. Because
you'll have a link to it in your show notes too. We're doing a little opt-in event so people can learn what it's about, and they can sign up for that and then make a decision if they want to be part of it.
Oh yeah, you're doing a free event, like an hour free event or something like that.
That's the Shift Network's MO.
Yeah. Well, it's really nice because it gives people a taste if they want to pursue it further. I think, I can say I know. Yes. When you connect beyond the veil, life becomes so much richer.
Oof.
And this, I can't even explain to you. So I ride a motorcycle. I used to ride it a lot. I don't ride it now, but I used to say, oh my gosh, going to the grocery store on a motorcycle is so much fun. Makes the grocery store so much more fun. This connecting beyond the veil makes life so much more fun. And then when you get the accuracy and you're sharing that, you just know you're never alone. And there's a lot of sadness in the world and people that don't feel loved, but we're all so loved. Can you address that? Your dear friend Lynette, who I interviewed, said when she first met you, she said, we're all so loved, like really seriously. And then she, of course, understands now we are all so loved. Will you please share that?
Yeah.
Why you know that?
I'll bare my soul here. I had a I've had this wonderful neurologist helping me. He's given me 7 sessions since the back pain started, but at a distance, remotely healing. It's phenomenal, which shows me there's an energetic connection. And, so why didn't it heal right away? Why is it still here? Because I'm still mining this for all it's worth. But in the last session, he said, wow, I just came at this from a different level. And I heard you still have some work to do on karmic patterns with authority figures. And I thought, wow. And I went back. That's why I say you do like the AA programs, like 12-step programs, do a really fearless searching inventory of your life. And there were so many times throughout my childhood where I would latch onto a specific teacher because they made me feel safe and loved because I wasn't getting it at home. Mm-hmm. And that was the authority figures, this pattern throughout my life. Well, what if so-and-so is gone today? My whole day, I'd be scared if that teacher was out for the day, because that was my authority figure that's going to give me this feeling of safety and love. This was my pattern. Now I see it for what it was. What the spiritual path does for you is shows you there's only one authority figure, and it's joy. God, source, the higher power, whatever you want to call it. For me, I've felt that, and it's not out here, and it's always here. If it's not like the teacher that took a day off and, oh my God, I'm lost for the day. It's a sense of love and protection, no matter what, that no other human can give us. I literally was curled up in a fetal position on the floor with this back pain about a month ago, maybe a little longer. I needed comforting so badly. My husband wasn't available to give it to me. I looked this up. Wild animals curl up in fetal positions when they're in pain. And with sciatica, it's this zing that comes on erratically, like mice that never know when they're going to get zinged. So it's stress as well. And here I am, spiritual teacher, but the pain brought me to that before I had this understanding. And all of a sudden now joy as God is back in my life, showing me that through this awakening, you gave away your power to these authority figures because you thought that's where love is going to come from. Mm-hmm. We do that to the people we marry. Hopefully you marry somebody that's aligned with you. But so many times people marry the wrong person because they think they're going to be the source of love for them. And if you don't get at your real problems, you're going to divorce and marry the same kind of person over and over and over again. And so this spiritual path, see, it's not just about mediumship for me. Mediumship is one path to self-realization with a capital S, to realizing that the one authority is the higher self that we all share. And it's right here. And when I realize this is where joy lives, this is where joy loves, this is where joy sees, I don't need to be cradled and cuddled and loved by anyone outside of me. I'll take it.
Sure.
We love that. But it is this solid anchoring and knowing I am so loved because we are love in expression. Lynette came to know that, so that when Sanaya says to all of us at the end of every message every day, you are so very loved, it's not BS. It's truth with a capital T.
There's nothing more beautiful than feeling that within yourself, because I do feel that. I feel that. I don't feel it all the time. I'm going to tell you that.
Yep.
But I call them pinpricks of joy, of just like, this is it. I'm complete. I am just perfect the way that I am. This is great. I love. I just, love. I feel loved. And this doesn't happen all the time. I find it fascinating that this authority thing came into you, and then you're in the military, which could not be more of an authoritarian, place to be, where it's very regimented.
And serving the number one authority of the United States Armed Forces as his aide. I mean, it's cosmic joke. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's why that's why I've stopped giving away authority. We can love each other, but all are equal. That was a huge switch for me when I retired. And then we have friends now. One of them was a retired 3-star admiral. To call him Bill instead of Admiral, and now I just met a Navy SEAL captain, and he's Tom. It's this whole rank thing, but we all do it. We put other people above us and others below us. All are equal, and we're all joy and expression.
I think that's what got me today, actually, because I was having a little trip up with just technical things with podcasting. There's just a lot of things. And I'm thinking, gosh, people know so much more than I know about this, and they're doing such a better job. And then I stopped, Suzanne. I really did. And I said, wait a minute, Sandy, you're no better or worse than anybody else, that you can learn how to do this, but I don't put anybody on I don't put people on pedestals.
Oh, there are definitely people better than us at certain skills, but as far as value and worth.
Yes. So that's something that I truly love about you, Suzanne, because in the position that you're in, you have millions of people that really think you're the cat's meow. I mean, really. But I've never felt from you this ego, I'm better than you. Never. And I can tell you, I would have been really probably nervous to interview back, a year ago, but I wasn't, because I'd read all your books. I felt like I knew you. That's beautiful that you can be out in the world and do that, because there are people that are very gifted, but they are not coming from pure intent.
But that's because spirit is so awesome. And I had a few hugely painful ego events early on this journey. And it was spirit's way of saying, this is all spirit. All credit goes to spirit. And when you forget that, you don't get to help people. So I've never forgotten that.
That is such a good point. And now I'm super sensitive to it. So anybody who comes on this podcast, I have to feel that alignment, or I can't do it. And it's not that I'm better than anybody else. It's not that at all. But it has to be an alignment, an energetic alignment for me.
Yep.
So, oh my gosh, I can talk to you forever. I remember when I interviewed the first time, I said, Suzanne, I could have you on once a week for a year and we still would have so much more to say.
Well, that's good.
But I do have questions specific to you, because I always ask questions at the end of an interview, but since we've done it before, can I ask you these questions, these new questions just for you? Just for you. Okay. What do our loved ones wish we understood better about grief, connection, and communication with them?
They say the door is always open. It reminded me of a reading where I was talking to a woman's son across the veil. That's 3 examples with sons that we can talk to anybody across the veil. But this son, I said, he's showing me a rainbow from his heart to yours. And he says, the connection is good, Mom. And she said, I've been in meditation visualizing a rainbow between our hearts, and I swore the connection is better when I do that. And there he was validating that. Then he showed me, he said, Mom, it's just like a glass between us. I see you so clearly, but it's like putting 2 aquariums side by side. If the water's stirred up in either one, we can't connect. And so this is why we practice sitting in stillness and training ourselves to be calm. So our water is still when we connect. And they're learning and growing across the veil as well. And he showed me he was always anxious and uptight. And now he's going, oh, and she validated that as well, that he was always really hyper. And I thought that was amazing teaching coming from a very normal person across the veil.
I think that's beautiful. And I do say that they're at such a high frequency that if we're at a low frequency here, it's really hard, I would think, for them to connect to us, that we do need to raise our frequencies to connect to them. I was
off balance earlier in the week when I started this one reading, and I could not connect, which is why I love the feel of knowing there's a soul here. I can feel them. I can describe their personality clear as day. And it just wasn't happening. But I had been nauseous and had a headache all day. And so I called off the reading and I said, I know this is me today. And I said, let's try this again tomorrow, same time. I hated to disappoint this couple. And we tried the next day. I was feeling great. Boom. And the sun across the veil, because I talked about him earlier. He said to me, looking at you yesterday was like this big gray cloud around you. I couldn't get through.
I think that's something we should all remember, that if we're in a state like that, that's not the time to do anything.
Just wait it out. This too shall pass.
So I want to ask you, are you doing readings? Because people are going to want to do readings with you. So
I'm still working on that waiting list, Sandy.
Okay.
So yeah, I am doing readings, but I really only have time for about 3 a week. So with the demand, it's not happening so fast.
Yeah. And I think you're probably booked years in advance. When you connect to the higher realms now, what feels new about the frequency of the messages you're receiving? Are we collectively vibrating at a new octave of awareness?
We are collectively. It's not hugely better, but they said it's like this. It's definitely getting better faster. And technology is helping us. I mean, just using, my librarian, my virtual librarian, Grace, it holds you. You're like fascinated. You want to learn more, and you learn more quickly. We all have the capability now, but I want people to have that personal experience. But as a whole, we are definitely connecting better. And is it different for me? We already talked about that. It's more solid. It's more grounded.
Right.
More unwavering. Yeah.
A friend asked me yesterday, she had an aha moment where she was going through a tough time, and light switch, aha moment. She called me, she said, Sandy, do you think that now that consciousness is more open, that people are tapping into metaphysics or the other side easier? And I said, yes, I do believe that for those who choose to do it.
That's right. Yep. We have to be open. Belief and intention are the two keys.
Yeah, because I think it's there, but if you close the door to it, obviously it's not going to happen. What do your guides most want humanity to remember right now about who we truly are?
It's my Awaken Way teaching, the 3 principles that are in Wolf's Message documentary, because he's the one that helped me distill this. I'm on a mission to share what they want us to most know. Number 1, we're not only human, we're souls, always here and now, and the soul is the bridge to joy. Number 2, we are part of one big web. You can see it when synchronicities happen and when miracles happen. That web connects us, the physical with the non-physical. And then the 3rd one is love is the creative and healing force of the universe. When we find that love within ourselves, we're not looking for it outside. Now we become a beacon of that. And as one light turns up, everything gets brighter. So we affect those around us.
It's really true. It's so true. If you could whisper one message into the heart of everyone listening, what would you want them to remember?
What you're looking for and doing silly things to get is right here already. Right here already.
Yeah. Oh, I do love that. I love that. Well, Suzanne, this has been my joy to be with you again. And we will put...
Joy.
Beautiful. Oh, I love that. I love that.
That was from Lynette.
Of course it was. Oh, she's so much fun. We will put all of this in the show notes. And again, when is the course for the show? Well, first of all, you're doing an hour free.
That's November 15th, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. And then the course starts December
6th, I'm pretty sure.
6th. Okay. Well, we will make sure that we get that out for everybody.
It'll be December 4th, but it'll be there.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It's so funny because when we were together at the winery here, you kind of alluded to this missing puzzle piece thing. And I'm thinking, I want to hear about this. But then we started talking about other things. So I'm so glad to hear about the Hara method. It makes so much sense. And it's the last puzzle piece.
Yes.
It just makes it's going to make it so much easier for all of us to connect. I love that.
Yes.
Well, Suzanne, thank you so much.
It's my joy, and you are a delight. So thank you so much.
You are always. And we'll just stay in touch, and much, much more later. And because there's always something new to share about this.
All right.
It's all about love.
These hands to wave bye-bye.
Oh, I do want to say this to you. When you were doing this, I felt it. I felt, so people that are, you can listen, but also watch the YouTube video of this, because I know this to be true. So, okay. So much love. Oh, give my love to Ty, your very funny husband.
I will.
Bye, Suzanne.
Bye.
Thank you.